Hello, welcome to Futbol the Europa podcast, episode 7. Today alongside me is Carlos. Welcome, Carlos. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me for the 7th time in a row.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And maybe we'll do 700 in a row, hopefully.
Surely.
And today we have a lot of points to discuss, especially regarding UCL and UEL. So we should start with Ajax versus Spurs, which was a 1-0 result in favor of Ajax and at away. So it was a very good result for them. And do you see Spurs pulling it back somehow?
I think Son is expected to return, so it's a little more possible. I think Pochettino got it tactically wrong from the first half, in the sense where their midfield was dominated heavily by Ajax, which he should have expected. I think the way that Ajax play. And I think he should have tried to get one more body in midfield. That's one thing. The second thing is they played Llorente up top, but they did not change the way that they normally play. They try to, play with a degree of possession. I would say fully possession-based game, but they try to play with a degree of possession, which I think was a wrong tactic with Llorente. Especially when you consider that Ajax weaknesses are in terms of aerial balls. So I think they should have gone for early crosses and try to use Llorente's height into the equation, because the midfield game was anyway not going to be the strongest part for them, even if they had the full squad. And on top of that, I think he approached the game slightly wrong. He was good enough to understand it later. I think he brought in Sissoko or somebody in between. But yeah, basically he did finally try to get some sort of stronghold in the midfield after he changed his substitution. But I think it was mainly maybe tactically hitting. It was not his best game.
Yeah, and also it's not that bad of a result, because 1-0 can be changed. Like, you can always go 1-0 and then you can go to penalties and stuff, and it's on luck later on. But I think Ajax could have scored a lot more goals, but they couldn't.
The Neres one, I think the Neres one could have changed the equation altogether, so Spurs have a good chance.
Yeah. So I think Spurs should consider themselves as lucky that they only conceded one goal, and because tactically and stuff, it didn't seem that the match would end 1-0. It was expected that Ajax will comfortably lead through the game. And for the second leg, do you have any predictions or something?
I think Ajax are favourites to go through slightly. I'd give Spurs a chance because A, Son is coming, and B, I think for the first time probably Ajax is going to feel pressure.
Yeah. In
the sense they're very close to the final, because they are not only right now the favourites in the tie, they're that close to the finals. I think for the first time in this entire campaign, they're going to feel some pressure. Of course, the advantage that they have is their home crowd, and maybe they will be able to take on the pressure. I think if you look at their players, even though they're young, especially the main players, Delict and FTJ, they both have the presence of a experienced player. They have the mindset, I think, of an experienced player, with the fearlessness of a player who does not actually have that much experience. So maybe it might suit them, but I just feel that this is when they would feel the pressure that they've never felt across the UCL.
Yeah, and also maybe Spurs would go through the same emotions and stuff, because but Spurs don't have the cushion of 1-0 lead, so maybe they have more of hunger and stuff, because they already have come to the terms with that we are already half knocked out. Like, losing one tie is already most.
I think Spurs don't have that emotional problem, because they have nothing. Like, for them, it's very
there's
clear.
Nothing
they
to
have
lose.
To go and attack. They just have to go and attack and score 2 goals.
There's nothing to lose.
At least score 1 goal. So they have literally that emotional factor is not there. I think if they score the first goal early, it'll be a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be like.
Then they are also like, okay, we don't have to bottle it.
Should we go for the next goal, or should we not? Should we go for the? So I think that
They should just park the bus.
I hope that the first goal does not happen in the first half. if you're watching the match.
Maybe if it comes after minute 90, that will be more interesting. So the other Champions League game which was very interesting, I would say, was Barcelona versus Liverpool. And how do you read that game? Because I have a couple of things to say about it, so I'll just say after you.
I would say if you were to lose a game 3-0, like this is how you should lose the game. Like this is probably the best way to lose 3-0 because you did a lot of things right in the game. You were barring being clinical, and the second thing is you lost to 10 minutes of Messi brilliance. I would say 10 to 15 minutes of Messi brilliance. So, and probably I wouldn't say it's their best squad because Firmino was injured coming into the game. But yeah, I think Liverpool played really well. They should have scored goals. They did not take the chances. I don't think so Barcelona played that great. Overall, I felt they did struggle to cope with Liverpool's pressing and intensity in the game. So much so I think Valverde had to Valverde did the same thing what I think Pochettino also did in terms of he bought in I think it was Semedo in place of Coutinho and moved Sergio Roberto into the midfield to give some more midfield presence. It was just that Barcelona were very clinical and that they came to reach the final and Liverpool I think came with their philosophy and everything but just were not clinical enough and against a Barca side that's criminal.
Yeah, and you could see those chances missed by Salah, like two of them. In first half it was saved, I guess, and the other one was in the second half.
Yeah, the first half I think the save, I wouldn't say it was a miss, it was great by Ter Stegen. The second half was like the second post miss was incredible.
Yeah, the goal post was like, they were placed in the goal, but still you expect expect Salah to hit the target. Yeah, exactly. And talking about Barcelona, like it wasn't the match which they controlled very well, and they at least needed the Messi free kick. It just doesn't add to the scoreline, but it destroys the opponent mentally also. Like the way you concede those goals affects a lot. It's not just a goal from a free kick. It's a lot more to that because when you were into the game, you were feeling a lot of things, and you feel like you've been quite destroyed. Like. Yeah,
it's.
I hope it makes sense because I cannot put it into words. Yeah, exactly.
Did you feel that was a free kick though? Did you feel it was a foul though? I mean, like, I did feel it was a foul.
Let's not get into that debate, but yeah, what happens, that happens. I just want to read the game and not go into the referee's decision and stuff because Messi's behavior was, it's quite debatable because they say he jumped and dived.
I don't think so. He hit Fabinho or anything like that. I'm just saying that
punched him in the face and stuff. But
I don't believe all that. I just felt that Fabinho turned around and tried to block Messi's route. Was that really? I did feel it was a free kick at that point of time. Either how, obviously it was given and it was a great goal. It was also a 600 goal, right?
Yeah,
club goal. So I think Cristiano hit 600 like 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Oh, what phenomenal numbers by these both, man! I don't think it'll ever happen again.
Yeah, but. Coolies are more happy because Messi did it in like 100 less games than Cristiano, but exactly.
Yeah, but
because they were different players from
a long period
of time, and even still they are quite different to each other. Yeah, so it's not a fair comparison, but yeah. So another thing is that I don't see Barcelona keeping this midfield for a long time because Vidal was signed like for 2 years or 1 year.
He was signed this year, right? I think it was a 2-year deal.
2-year deal, yeah. And I don't see him playing a lot next season. I don't see Busquets playing a lot next season.
They've already got a Busquets replacement, so I think FTG will play.
Exactly. And because this is not the true Barcelona identity which the fans talk about, because even Messi said that we cannot play in this manner because this is not Barcelona style.
I think this is that transition period where they're playing Valverde's version of Barcelona football.
Yep.
Which will change maybe in a year or two. Maybe a little more than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I see, like I said last year, in the last podcast, that the Ajax coach will most probably take over soon, and you will see Ten Hag, and you'll see you'll see a change in the philosophy. And I think this is FDJ is stage one.
First Barcelona buy all their squad, now they even take the coach.
That's what I think. This is like stage one. Stage two will probably getting NDL, and probably the coach.
Yep. And I totally agree with you on that. And to add, it will be interesting to see a final between Barcelona and Ajax, because I think Ajax will beat Barcelona, because they can maintain the stamina for the whole 90 minutes. They can impose their style, and Barcelona are already giving up on their former ideology, and they had like 56.
Barcelona is too Messi dependent.
Yeah, and 44% possession did they have? Like 56 and 44
57 and 43, I think it was.
Yeah, in favor of
53-47, sorry, in favor of Liverpool.
Yeah. And
that itself is an amazing statistic, to come to Barcelona and
Camp Nou.
Camp Nou, and actually have more ball possession than him, and still lose 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, that I wouldn't be surprised if Barcelona go to Anfield and lose 3-0 and get knocked out. Because it is very possible. Because don't get swayed away by the scoreline, because it wasn't the true reflection of the game itself. And at Anfield, it's a totally different story, and we have seen Barcelona being battered by likes of AS Roma.
It was interesting. It was interesting that Valverde did say that's the first thing in his post-match interview. Like this match feels exactly like the 3-0 victory against Roma. So I think they are more mentally prepared for it. They'll not take Liverpool as lightly as Roma. And for Liverpool, there's no emotional element to this game anymore. Just go out and attack. And that's about it. So if they manage to hit the first goal, it'll be very interesting. And I think thinking the way Valverde plays, is if Liverpool score the first goal, I feel he will try to defend. Which will help Liverpool all the more. So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
And as Kian Subani and other journalists also say, that Liverpool is probably the hardest team Barcelona had to face this season. And if you just imagine that if Salah had scored that goal, and 3-1 scoreline is totally different, and you just have to score 2 more goals and you're at par, or you're even qualified for the final.
Lucky that Dembele did not score that last minute thing also, I think. So
that would have killed the tie,
that would have killed the tie, I think.
But even if in the next leg they score an early goal and they got an away goal, so it's pretty much done and dusted for Liverpool.
I can see, to be fair, I can see like a 5-1 scoreline or something like that happening at Anfield in favor of Liverpool.
Yeah, it can happen, but it can happen. It's not out of the world scoreline, which can't happen. So, do you have any last comments on this?
No, I think this is clearly Barcelona's tie to lose. I think this will be an interesting tie to watch, because I think Liverpool will attack, and I think Barcelona will initially at least try to get that away goal. But if the intensity of Liverpool's attack is too much, where they need to defend a lot or something like that, this game would definitely be interesting, even though the scoreline suggests it is not.
By the way, did you just realize that Liverpool are almost on the verge of going trophyless after having one of the best seasons of their entire history?
Yes.
And their fans are still on the same page. Last year it was against Ramos, and this year it's against Messi, and they're just signing petitions. I
like the fact that the Ramos petition, you need to reach 100,000 people, but the Messi petition needs to reach only 5,000.
It's actually just the
you need 100,000.
It grows according to the number.
Oh, is it like that?
Yeah, it's like that. Okay, because when you reach 5,000, then it will say 10,000. If you reach 10,000, then it will say 20,000. So it just keeps expanding.
I wasn't aware of that, but okay, that's funny.
It's not a UCL final, so it won't get that many likes. And of course, Messi is considered a good boy and stuff, and Ramos always triggers people. I don't know how. Anyways, moving on to Frankfurt versus Chelsea in Europa League. It was a 1-1 draw, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it was 1-1 draw.
Yep. And I will talk about Jovic a bit later, but what are your thoughts on the match?
It wasn't a great game. I think Frankfurt played better. It was interesting that Hazard was dropped. I don't know whether, especially with the rife speculation in terms of the Hazard move to Real Madrid, and considering that Chelsea's top 4 spot is not confirmed yet, I found this a very weird lineup where Hazard was dropped. I didn't feel he got punished for it as such, because I don't think the Frankfurt completely took advantage of it. On the flip side, you could say that maybe he wanted to bring Hazard later, when the squad or when the Frankfurt team was a little bit tired, which he did, to be fair. But Hazard also did not play at his usual level, so I'm not sure whether it is, you can say it was a great move or a bad move or anything as of yet. If Chelsea get knocked out of this and don't qualify for top 4, only then you would know. So I would say at that point of time, you're saying from hindsight. But overall, as a game, I didn't feel it was that great a game. I expected Chelsea to impose a little more, and Sarri to impose a little more. So it's a little, I found it a little strange in terms of the fact that Hazard did not play. That was the biggest take for me in that game.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be much surprised if Eintracht get past Chelsea, because I see it as a similar game against Benfica. Like the first leg, okay, they lost and stuff, but in the second leg, they made a huge comeback.
But I think over there they lost away and they won at home.
Yeah.
Here they lost at home, and they had the away goal scored against them. So I would still favor Chelsea.
Yeah, but still, if they can score one goal over there, and it's pretty much done for them. And talking about the rumors for Real Madrid, both the teams have the players linked to Real Madrid, Jovic and Hazard. So Jovic and Hazard both are the signings which press in Spain says that they are done signings and they will be announced after the season ends. And what are your thoughts on that?
Jovic was predominantly reported by AS, and AS does not have a great track record when it comes to Real Madrid rumors of late. The only encouraging sign was, I think, JLS from Marca reported that also that the deal is close to done or almost done. And today we are here.
He was the first one to say it, actually.
Yeah, he was the first one to say it was done, but I'm saying the entire Jovic thing was run by AS mainly. Marca did not run it so profoundly. They did say that, they always said that Jovic was part of our shortlist among the players that we are targeting, but they weren't. But AS was right the opposite way, saying that we have already put in an offer and stuff like that. They were always one step ahead in terms of the way Marca was reporting. But AS does have a bad track record in terms of rumors recently.
Yeah, and also Zidane just said that Benzema can play alongside another striker, and he also has Isco in his plans as far as we can predict for the moment. And I see we will see a 4-4-2 diamond formation with Benzema and Jovic up front, and maybe Hazard in the attacking position, central attacking position, or maybe Isco over there, something like that.
Possible. I was thinking because I think we'll eventually he might move out of the 4-3-3 format, maybe, because I don't think so. We are interested in keeping James even if he comes back.
Yeah.
We're not really being linked to a right-sided winger type player.
Yeah.
And the only other players that the only right-sided winger type, I wouldn't even say winger, the only right-sided player that we're being linked to is Mbappe, who's more of a striker himself. So I think in terms of rumors, Hazard deal I think is almost done. The Jovic deal, it seems I would not take it right now as fully done because it's still AS that's primarily reporting.
Yeah, but the price they report is quite good.
It's quite
60
good.
million for 6 years is a very good deal.
60 million euros. And apart from that, there is a possibility of Mariano Diaz being sold to Frankfurt in a separate deal.
Yeah, but that has
nothing to do with the Jovic deal, though. It's a separate deal. So I would look at it as a bonus. 60 million is not bad.
Yeah, that's true. And also, it was interesting to see how Real Madrid will cope up with Vinicius, Rodrigo, Jovic and Benzema all together, because 4 of the most attacking players, and then you are going for Hazard and I don't know how it will work, but maybe some of them will be loaned out and stuff. But Vinicius maybe proved himself to be too good to be loaned out, and I hope he stays in Real Madrid and does phenomenally well. So moving on to the next game, Arsenal versus Valencia, and it was a shock for everyone actually. 3-1 for Arsenal, and even Marcelino said that this scoreline wasn't expected even by Arsenal. And yeah, what happened over there?
I didn't find that it to be that much of a shock. I mean, Unai Emery has a great track record in the Europa League, and probably like for like, I would say Arsenal have better players, and Valencia have had a very on again, off again kind of season, with a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and their best Ballon d'Or performance only against Real Madrid kind of team that they are. So I did feel that it was. To be fair, I was a little shocked that they scored first. So I think they played really well. Lacazette had a very good game. Auba also had a very good game. Ozil didn't have a very good game. I felt so personally. But overall, I think Unai Emery stuck to his strengths, which was attacking. Their strengths was not defensive. But surprisingly, their defenders had a very good game. I felt both Mustafi and the French player, I can't remember the name. He had a good Lorient something, the French defender, centre back, the captain of Arsenal. He had also a good game. I can't pronounce his name properly. So yeah, I think they both had a surprisingly good game for the way Arsenal defense has been. They played really well against Napoli, had 3 bad games, and this game was pretty good, I felt. So I think they're almost they should close it out and reach the finals. Their need is more also to reach the finals because their chance of reaching the top 4 has declined slightly more, I feel, compared to Chelsea.
Yeah, and that's true. And it was a home game for Arsenal, right?
Yes, it was a home game for Arsenal, so they do have an away goal advantage.
Yeah, and it can totally change in Mestalla because that's a very tough stadium to play in, and La Liga teams know it very well, and maybe Arsenal are not really done for the Europa League. But keeping in mind that Unai Emery has also played in La Liga and has won Europa League thrice in a row, it's very interesting.
I think he can prepare his squad for the Mestalla Stadium, considering that he was their manager for quite a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, since the need is more, I think they will manage to win this.
Yeah. That is true. And do you have anything else to add to the points we have already discussed also before we move on?
On this game, nothing much. I felt it was overall a strong performance. I see them closing it. It would be interesting to see an Arsenal-Chelsea UEL final because I expect at least one of them will not be in the top 4.
Yeah, that is true. Even Valencia for that matter, because they are not into top 4 right now for La Liga.
But Valencia is not a constant top 4 team. And the other thing is, I think for these clubs, because in Chelsea's case, they possibly could have a transfer ban, and they've been in and out of Champions League for quite some time. So I think for them, monetarily, it's important. And for Arsenal, for the new phase, because they really don't have money, it's important.
Yeah, okay. As a Real Madrid fan, would you want Jovic to win the Europa League before he joins Real Madrid?
Oh, sure, why not? I would rather
Or would you have Hazard winning the Europa League before he joins Real Madrid?
I don't think so. Hazard cares for the Europa League, so I would rather have Jovic win the Europa League.
Because Hazard already has a lot of experience and stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
And Jovic needs that boost.
Could use it. Yeah.
Yep, that's true. And a few days ago, we had a terrible news regarding Iker Casillas, who suffered a heart attack in training, and touch wood, he's now good and he's recovering well, and the reports say that he can also play again in future. And would you like to talk about it, Carlos?
Yeah, it was sad news. It was shocking also. It happened in training. I did. From what I read, I could not see anything, any specific activity that he did which led to it. I'm not really sure what the cause of it. I mean, the only thing I can say, he might seriously consider retirement now.
He's 37 and there's nothing left to play for.
Yeah, so but this has been true for quite some time, and he still always did want to play. So I think now he might take retirement a little more serious. Might be good for him to come back to Real Madrid in some sort of capacity within the within the
Management and yeah.
Not in terms of like player management or coaching or something like that. I mean like a delegate or something like that.
Like sporting director or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Not necessarily that big a position, but somewhere.
Even as a ambassador would be great.
Yeah, ambassador, delegate, something like that. I think would be good. Come back home.
It will eventually happen. We know that Real Madrid is his lifetime club and stuff, and also that like in past also incidents have occurred with Ruben de la Red or Furnace Moamba. Like players have collapsed on the pitches, players have lost their lives, and some were forced into retirement. And I don't know why it happens to top elite professionals who have been.
Yeah, normally when you have such a huge medical testing done on you every day regularly, it's kind of weird that people are not able to spot this. But thankfully for Iker Casillas, I felt it's good that happened in training, not during the match, which is good.
That's true.
And it looks to be much better than at least Delared's situation.
Yeah, that's true. And even Iker's wife came out and said that he's quite good now. He's quite fine. And we have a non-Patreon questions from the same guy, Sayyid Nakvi. And
this question, the Jovic question, was from him or?
No, that was for me.
Okay, just us.
Yeah, I'm also non-Patreon. Anyways, and Sayyid Nakvi on Facebook asks, is it fair to call UCL bigger than the league? If you pick one, what will you pick?
I don't think so. UCL is bigger than the league, or league is bigger than the UCL. I think they're two different formats, and the two different formats showcase something else to you. I think a league is a true representation of how good you are as a team. And when I say how good you are as a team, it means everything: the players, the squad development, the coaching staff, everything. And it doesn't necessarily. For example, if you do well in this season, it doesn't mean that everything has worked in this season. It could be a sum of part of efforts that happened over the last 2-3 years. I feel it's a very you need to be consistently good to win in a 38 game season league. So I think that particular in a league, I think you cannot hide. I understand you may not always play the same quality of teams always, but in a league you cannot hide because you have to come and do it on a regular basis. But UCL is not like that. UCL is a knockout competition where half the games are actually knockout, where if you lose, you would be out of the competition. And I think that adds to it. I would say it's like the difference between running a marathon and running a 100-meter race. If you're good at marathon, that doesn't make the fact that a person who's good at 100 meters worse or better than you. There are two different skill sets that is required. The only difference is here you are able to compete for both together. So I think that I don't think it's a bigger concept. It's just that one gives you a true representation of the ability of the team, and the other, if I'm talking purely on football sense, and the other gives you the true, probably doesn't give you the true ability of the team as a whole, but it adds on to other factors like mental strength. There is also other factors like luck, everything. I agree to that, but I think it's more about mental capacity and other stuff. So I wouldn't say that one is bigger than the other. It's just that they are two different formats. And from my point of view, I would rather always focus on the league, because if you can get that part correct, it helps you in the UCL. So I think you should always focus on the league. And when you focus on the league and you build a good squad, and the development, the training that you do, week in and week out towards the league is what actually eventually helps you in the UCL. Unless you actually start competing in the league, or at least doing well in the league, I don't think so you can easily win the UCL. Of course, there are cases where it has happened, but I'm saying consistently. If you look at the last 10 years, the teams that have been doing either competing in league or doing well in league have the ones that generally win.
Yeah, you just told my analogy about marathon and 100-meter race, because that's what I was going to say about it. And for me, I would say that UCL is more prestigious than the league because it is played amongst elite teams.
True.
And you get knocked out very easily because you lose one game and it's probably the end of it. And
In some cases, you don't need to lose the game also. You just need to draw the game and you're still
yeah. You can win the away game and draw one game, and that's the end of it. But I totally agree. And the league is more tough to win because it doesn't really depend on you, because it depends on others as well. Like if Real Madrid are doing good, they need Barcelona to do bad in the league to win it, because you
Correct.
can see it in the EPL race right now. Like Liverpool are doing phenomenal, but Manchester City are still ahead of them with 1 point or 2 points, I
1
guess.
point.
And those fine margins really define the game much better than a competition which will just knock you out based on one game.
That Liverpool analogy is very interesting because even though they're at 97 points, they've lost only one game.
Yeah.
But they've drawn 7 games.
Yeah.
So it shows that, even after you're so good, you're not able to reach. But I think in UCL, if you draw 7 games and lose one, the odds are in the knockouts you might still be favored.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So UCL doesn't really capture the true quality of the team, though you need quality to play in UCL and to win UCL. But winning UCL alone doesn't give you the stamp of being the best. Like in 2016 season, Real Madrid were like terrible for the first half in Rafa Benitez, and even in the second half, they were playing well under Zidane. They reduced the 10-point gap to 9-point gap to 1 point only, and they went on to win the Champions League. But
that's actually a good example. I think they build on the fact that they were playing well in the league, and the fact that they were already out. They initially, when Zidane came in, as far as competition is concerned, they were outside. They had no chance of really winning the league. It was after they started playing well in the league, continuously winning, building confidence, they were able to do well in the Champions League.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Even at that point of time, anybody thought that we would win. And I think only after we reached the semi-finals, we were like, truly, okay, we can win.
Yeah, that's true. And coming to Zidane's comments, that he said that league is better than league is like more tougher to win than Champions League, and he would prefer La Liga. And that is true because he's only won 1 La Liga and 3 Champions League, and that totally explains why Zidane thinks the way he thinks. And also, it was one of the reasons why he left after winning the UCL, because he knew that it was a record number of low points the team has collected in its history, and that's not a good sign. And he was the first one to hit the eject button, and he said, okay, it's not my job to do it, I cannot do it. Like, I don't know for what reasons. Maybe he didn't have the control, maybe he didn't have the tactics, maybe he didn't have the I don't know what was it, but yeah, he just felt that maybe a new direction is needed for the team, which can lead it to a better fate. And one of the other topics which I would like to add is that for winning the Champions League, you don't need a certain ideology.
True.
You can just win it like, okay, we suffer for 20 minutes, we have the ball for 10 minutes. Okay, we give away the ball for 10 minutes. We have no clue what we are doing for the 10 minutes.
You need better organization, I would say, to win the Champions League, and probably better. It is good to have somebody who can analyze the opponent well.
Yeah.
But in the league, you need to have a system that you want to play and work and build on across a period of time.
Exactly. Right? So you need to develop a certain identity. You need to develop a certain gameplay which you will execute week in and week out, and that will render results. And similar to what Jose Mourinho did with Real Madrid, and also Pep Guardiola, wherever he has gone, he has won the league. And a lot of other players, a lot of other coaches who have done the same thing, and even Sarri with Leeds and
Bielsa, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, my bad. I went to say Bielsa. Yeah, Marcelo Bielsa with Leeds, and even Sarri with Napoli. He didn't win the league, but he came quite close, and it was a phenomenal team under him. Napoli was great. Like, yeah,
he improved his squad a fair bit.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to say is that he implemented a style of play and inculcated those
virtues,
those tactics into them. Yeah, and so if you have to win the league, you have to work a lot more harder, and if you have to win the Champions League, you just have to be a lot more stronger mentally.
True.
Yeah, like you can suffer for 85 minutes in the game, and you can just wait for like those moments when you will have a chance and you score, and that's it.
Yep.
but you cannot do that week in and week out against every team. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's all. That's all my point is. So maybe to sum it up in one line, to win the Champions League, you have to be more prepared mentally and you have to be more tough. But to win the league, you have to be more tactically strong and you have to rely on the structure and the gameplay rather than being mentally prepared for the last minute comebacks.
There is a slight, I would say, mental aspect in the league, in the sense you should be mentally ready to face a team that is on paper far worse than you.
Yeah.
It's easier for you to face a team who's as good as you, or even better than you in the Champions League, because there's something about the Champions League that, and the knockout part, that actually lifts you. But it is equally mentally important for you to have that attitude in league also, against a team that is far worse than you, because they may not make it easy. They may just sit back and make it very difficult for you to win. So I think that mentality also is important.
Yeah, that's what Lopetegui had suffered from for a few games. Like I can't remember which team he lost against, and it was a pure example like how his team sits back for the whole game and gets one chance and they score, and you just lose. You cannot unlock their defense. And yeah. So moving on to another question by Syed Nakmi on Facebook. He says, is it necessary for Messi to win a World Cup to be called the greatest of all times?
I don't think so. You can. He came very close to winning a World Cup, to be fair. He came up to the finals. I don't think so. If you look at the players around Messi in 2018, you can really blame him. In 2014, maybe he could have done better, like individually, but they still reached the finals and they played really well. It's difficult to say the World Cup is the only factor in terms of calling a player GOAT. For example, you could have a player like Eusebio. I know he's not. Most people don't consider him a GOAT, but he's there he would be there in a list of GOAT.
Yeah, his legacy is always there. It's funny thing that they called him the Black Pele because Pele was already black.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's my point. He basically was from Portugal. I wouldn't say they have the biggest World Cup history. I don't think so. That does not make him, a GOAT player. I would say the same for even Cruyff. It's not like Netherlands is. I know they have good history, but they've also not qualified many times and they have knocked out many times.
Even Di Stefano.
Yeah, Di Stefano is also good, except he's barely played in the World Cup. So I don't think so. World Cup.
Yeah, and even for the likes of Raul, who never won the World Cup, but they're one of the best players Spain has ever had.
So I don't think so. In the GOAT debate, you need to win the World Cup. You have to look at the totality of their career. It's also a GOAT debate is very difficult in generally to say, because it's very difficult to compare players of two different eras. There's a lot of benefits of playing in one era and a lot of disadvantages of playing in one era. In our current era, there's definitely a lot of benefit in terms of you get a lot of information physically, you get a lot of other data that helps you to build as a player, you get a lot of tactical data, you get a lot of people actually helping a player to become the best version that he can.
That is true.
But on the other, because of that, the competition I think is also harder. But
competition is also harder, but you see, like the offside rule was different back then. People actually confused that maybe there wasn't any offside rule, but there was, and it was quite harder to score goals in that rule.
Previously, also the games were allowed to be more physical. You could see players like Pele who have a lot of quality dribblers and stuff like that get a lot of hard knocks on their feet and stuff like that. That is true.
And also the ball used to be a lot heavier and. True. A lot of things matter.
A lot of things matters.
Even the technology of the shirt has changed. Like,
correct.
If you
to make it more aerodynamic, the boots, you're able to jump higher.
Exactly. So there are like endless number of things, and also the not to forget the goal line technology and stuff. Because I don't know how many goals must have been wrongly called off and stuff in those days.
It could change the legacy also. Imagine if in some World Cup, like for example in the Argentina World Cup, if
Maradona
was called hand of God and he was given a red card for it, they would never win the World Cup and he would not have a legacy to talk about.
That is true. And for me also,
at least not as big as a legacy to talk about.
Of course. And for me, Messi, obviously it would add on to his legacy, that if he wins the World Cup, it will just make him a lot more bigger than he already is. But even if he doesn't, there is nothing to lose. His legacy is already there. He is already compared to likes of Pele, Maradona, Ronaldo, Ronaldo dilemma, and everyone, like, no matter whom you consider the greatest player of all times, these players will always be there in the conversation, and you don't have to, because see, even if Messi wins the World Cup, he will still be called the greatest of all times by the fans who always called him greatest of all times.
Right.
And the fans who always called Ronaldo the greatest of all times, they will still not call Messi the greatest of all times, irrespective of the fact if he wins the World Cup or not. So my point is that winning the World Cup won't make much difference because he's already in the debate. And even if the same goes for Ronaldo also, even if they win anything further,
Even if he didn't win for Portugal, he would still be considered.
Yeah, exactly. And like Messi can go on to win the Ballon d'Or this season, and Ronaldo may not win the Ballon d'Or, but still it won't change anything.
True. Yeah.
That's my whole point. And maybe for the likes of Luka Modric, their legacy might have changed if Croatia won the World Cup.
Yes.
But for the players who have already proven so much, I don't think there is nothing else.
Correct.
There's anything left to prove.
Players like Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have done it so consistently for so long that they don't really need trophies to prove it.
Yeah.
They also have loads of trophies. Like you mentioned, it is just harder for other kind of players like Modric, maybe even Xavi, Iniesta, even though they have trophies. It's just that they'll always be overshadowed by the sheer numbers and output that these two players have.
Yeah. And like they top all the goal and assist charts and stuff, but 600 goals, like we discussed, they've reached 600 goals, and that's quite a big number. Anyways, would you like to add something before we move on, or before we like shut the podcast?
Nothing in specific. Just want to thank Syed Naqvi for both the questions. Both are interesting questions.
Both interesting questions, and he's been a regular interactive with the podcast, and I love it. And thank you for asking questions, Syed, and we hope to listen more from you in future. And maybe
keep
even
asking
have
questions. Your IQ on football, in terms of at least hearing our opinion, is interesting for us to answer.
Yeah, very, very much. And we just love answering questions. So if you have any questions, just send in or comment down to on our Facebook page or on Instagram or on Twitter, and we will surely answer you, and we will get back to you, even on YouTube videos. And kindly like and subscribe our channel and share as much as possible, and keep watching football, keep listening Futbol de Europa. And anything to add, Carlos?
No, thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you again next week.
Thank you so much, and see you next week. Adios.